Hello, hello, Eureka Whiskey Club members. Welcome to the July virtual tasting for Eureka Whiskey Club. As always, Trevor here, coming to you from my home bar. Hope everyone's having a great week and enjoying themselves. And hopefully, you got some whiskey to pour in front of you and dive right into everything Eureka Whiskey Club this month. So this month we did feature the 1792 bottled in bond barrel pick. And just because we love all our members, we kind of just threw in an extra for you. Just a shelfer, Sazerac rye, but a great cocktail whiskey for your back bar. So hopefully you're enjoying both those bottles. Before we get into the guest of the evening, wanted just to do a couple quick club announcements. So as always, we got some extra bottles coming up. Some restaurants do still have some of the Weller available. If you did buy an extra bottle last month in June, you are eligible to buy another extra bottle this month, but you are still required to purchase an additional bottle of something else. So if you bought a bottle last month but haven't got your bottle this month and your restaurant has extra, please make sure you take advantage of that. And then we're going to evaluate kind of how much inventory we have left in the month of August, and maybe open it up to allowing people to buy 2 bottles if they want. It just really depends on how much we have left by the end of the month. So go buy extra Weller if your location has some. We'll also be releasing some upcoming bottles. We released our Nulu Brulee finish, I believe at the beginning of this month. That was kind of like it was supposed to be released last month, but we didn't get it in time. So that is an awesome pick that's available. We will be releasing soon. I've had this bottle for a while, so I only have a little bit left, but we're going to be releasing our Whistle Pig 12-year bespoke barrel rye that was aged in Amarone casks. This was selected by 2 people that work for our company, Spencer Pearson, who's one of our general managers in San Diego, and then one of our regional directors, Justin Christensen, had the pleasure of going out to Whistle Pig about 18 months ago, probably a while ago. So we've been waiting on this one for a while, and this will be released. All the details will come out in an email probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting on the distributor to get it to where it needs to be. We do have some more Stag Junior coming up. Should be released. Again, all depends on the distributor, but I'm hoping to release it next month. Final yield of that, so that'll probably be a 10-year pick, meaning you have to be in the club for a certain amount of time to be eligible for that. Depending on how much I get, I'm hoping to open it up to 1-year plus members. I believe last year you had to be a member for 2 years plus, but I'm hoping we got more this time around. The yield was super low last time, and I'm really hoping that the yield a little bit higher, so we can open it up to our 1+ year members. So, but that's all TBD. And then lastly, we will have an Elijah Craig barrel proof pick, hopefully being released next month as well. So a lot of cool extra bottles coming up for you. But without further ado, I do want to talk about the prizes we're giving away tonight, and then we'll introduce our esteemed guest. So tonight we're going to be giving away our guest tonight is Ross Cornelissen from 1792, Master Distiller. And Ross is going to be signing a couple bottles for us to give away tonight. We're going to be giving away a bottle of the 2025 Full Proof 1792, and then a signed bottle of the Sweet Wheat. So the Full Proof will be the first place prize. The Sweet Wheat will be the second place prize. But without further ado, I'd love to introduce Ross Cornelissen with 1792 or Barton 1792 Distillery. Ross, thank you for joining us.
Hey, folks. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's a little later here, but that's okay.
Yeah, again, being a whiskey club based in California, we're always grateful for the majority of our guests who are probably either 2 or 3 hours ahead of us. Pretty sure you're 3 hours ahead. So thank you for making the time. And did I do an okay job with the pronunciation on the last name? I think I got it right.
You were on it. Yep,
okay, perfect.
I appreciate it. So.
Well, I think I've joked on the call before with the last name of Tyler. I get called Taylor, Tyler, they get called all kinds of different things. So I really try to nail the pronunciation. But Ross, yeah, please. You've been on the calls before. It's been maybe about a year and a half, so you may look familiar to some of our members, but we have new members all the time. So please introduce yourself and tell us what you do at 1792, and maybe give us a little bit of background.
Yeah. Again, great to see you folks. Yeah, I have been the master distiller here just shy of 3 years. I don't know how that is possible, but time has flown by, and it's been nothing. I wish I could say it's been nothing but wonderful. There's been a lot of growth and a lot of great learnings, team building, and just continue to make good whiskey and make it even better. So it's been a lot of fun. I wish I could say every day is great, but there's always a few tough days thrown in there. That's what growth is all about. So, but yeah, like I said, I've been here just shy of 3 years, and this last year has been pretty darn exciting. We have a new few products on the horizon. I don't know how many people really follow kind of new releases and whatnot, but the latest would be the cognac cask finish. That's in the 1792 bottle that just came out, and then we have a few more hopefully that I can talk about in the very near future. But we'll see what happens. So, but a little bit about me again. Started at MGP Ingredients right out of college. I went to Purdue University for bioengineering. I was there for about 4 years during a really transformative time in the whiskey business and at MGP. So it was 2014 to 2018, and I saw a lot of different growth there as well, and was lucky to be there and grateful to be there during that time. Got to work with a lot of really smart people and learn a lot of good things from them, including Greg Metz. He's probably the best known person I worked with. He was the master distiller there for quite a while. So, and then he was with Old Elk for a while, and I think he retired. So,
oh, really?
Good
I
for
didn't
him.
know that. Last I spoke to him, he was with Old Elk.
Yeah. So I think that's like pretty darn recent. So, but I could be. Don't hold my word as truth. So I've been talking to him in a while. It's been a few months.
Well, I'll make sure I
but it's
told
always
him
nice.
you told me he retired.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Do that. Great.
Well, Ross
Greg
said. Ross told me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was there for a few years, and then went out to Colorado, and I did mushroom fermentation for food ingredients for about 4 years. So completely different. I don't know if
I thought you were going to say you just did mushrooms for 3 years.
Nope. Yeah, I followed. I guess followed is the right term. I followed my then fiance and now wife. We really wanted to grow her career. She's a geologist, so she got a really good job offer out there. So I quit my fun job at MGP and followed her, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Hardest things, but best things I ever did. Got to help be a part of a plant startup with a new novel technology, and again worked alongside some of the best and brightest people I've probably ever met, and was really grateful to be a part of that experience. So we did that for about 4 years, and then yeah, moved back to Kentucky, and that was I don't think I mentioned this last time. I thought it was a scam, not really a prank call, but probably a scam when Sazerac called me asking about this job. Because I had been out of whiskey for 4 years, didn't think I was going back. Somehow they found my information, and
so they called you.
They called me. Yeah, I was like, how did you find my name? There's so many other people kind of floating around in industry, but anyways, but yeah, so interviewed, and I've been here since August of 2022. First time we talked, I think my son was maybe a year old, and he's almost 3, and I have number 2 due in about a month and a half. So
oh wow,
you caught me at a good time.
Yeah. And in 6 more weeks, we probably wouldn't have been available, rightfully
nope.
So.
Yeah, probably not. So, but yeah, it's it's really humbling to sit here and be a part of the team here at 1792. There are so many good people here, some who are new and up and coming, and it's really exciting to see their growth in the distillery and barrel warehouse and quality operations, and others who have been here a long time and are just, you know, the pedestals that hold this place together. So yeah, I feel really lucky a lot of days. So that's kind of a quick background on me and on some of my moves over the years.
Well, I have to ask the question because I don't think I asked this last time, but I'm sorry for the super odd question right off the bat. Usually we start off with some pretty softballs, but what would you say is the most surprising commonality between mushroom cultivation and whiskey making? Or is there any?
Yeah, there are similarities. Absolutely. And it's one that I did not expect, but holds true. So actually I'll give you two. So we dry pitch yeast here at Barton, 1792. When I was at MGP, I was in charge of that process with another guy named Ray Furman. So we were in charge of the yeast propagation there, and it's something called the 10% rule. So whenever you propagate yeast, at least for whiskey, you basically always want to do a transfer of 10% into, or it should be like a minimum of 10% method, right? Into the next vessel that you're propagating in. So you would start with, similar to Solera. So like we would start with 25 milliliters of malt extract or gosterol and a few other compounds, and you put a little bit of yeast into that, let it stir and grow or propagate for about a day. Then you would take that 25 milliliters and put it in 250 milliliters. So 10%. Fungi or mycelia being like the roots of a mushroom, whenever we would grow them in water and media as well, very similar to what you would do with yeast propagation, it was the same thing. We built it based on a 10% rule. So we went from, 5 liters to 50 liters to 500 liters, so on and so forth. And it worked great. And then they are really sensitive to pH for their growth and propagation rates, and then oxygen uptake as well. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities that I didn't realize but mycelia grow a lot slower, and so it has to be actually sterile. You cannot have any other microorganisms present in a mycelial fermentation versus in yeast or a whiskey fermentation. Like, it's okay to have some bacteria, and they're adding different flavors as well by producing different acids. So like you want some of that other natural flora. In mycelial fermentation, absolutely not. You want one strain and one strain only. So there's a similarity and there's, I guess, a difference if you're looking for that. Bonus answer. So
awesome.
Anyways, good question.
And I promise this isn't the mushroom club, but I do have one more. I do have one more mushroom question before we move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you make a distillate out of mushrooms?
You have no idea how many times people have asked me that. They're like, you should just combine the two. You probably...
Or is the sugar content not high enough?
Yeah, I don't think the sugar content would be high enough. Would be my answer. You would probably get a really low yield, or you'd have to use some really obscure enzymes to convert things to, simple carbohydrates or monosaccharides, sugars. But maybe one day we'll do it for science and see what happens. I like it.
Got it. Love it.
Don't cancel the idea.
Going back to whiskey now, I promise mushroom talk is over.
Gotcha.
I was wondering, during your time at MGP, was there I know obviously you worked under Greg Metz. What would you say was the most important thing you learned at your time at MGP that's been the most beneficial to your career and your time now at 1792?
Man, great question. And this is something that if there's something that I feel or think I can teach people that I work with, it is exactly what I'm going to talk about. And that is, how does the process affect final distillate quality? So when you make, and I know that sounds so simple and everyone should know the answers, but in reality, it's a lot more complex than you would think. And so at MGP, we ran so many different mash bills. There's multiple cooking systems. You have open top and closed top fermenters. You have all these different variables. And then you have your final distillate that comes off the still. And you're like, all right, this, tastes or smells differently than our reference or our standard. Why is that? You might have a list of 5 things based on what you smelled or tasted that it could be. And then you have to go back and troubleshoot those items. But knowing just where to start in that troubleshooting process is something you just learn with time. And so I think that's what, like, when I think of a master distiller, like, I call myself a distiller. Like, Greg Metz is a master distiller. He was there 30 years. Like, that dude knows everything about not just whiskey, about GNS distillation, about vodka or gin, maturation. I mean, he knows it all. That is someone who can play with those variables to get a flavor profile that he so desires. But again, the thing that I would say that I learned how to do the best and continue to push the people around me to learn is, when we make process changes, how will that affect final distillate quality? And how do you keep it from happening as well if needed?
No, because the final product's the most important thing, right?
It is. And I don't mean to be crude, but if you put crap in a barrel, you're going to get crap out generally. The barrel can fix a lot of defects, but it won't fix everything, I guess. So yeah. I'll use one example. So every once in a while, you would see, you would smell a distillate sample and it would have a weedy vegetal green bean note. You're like, what is cooked green beans? And it's like, what is going on? And we found that basically
DMS, right? Yeah.
It was DMS. Yeah, DMS and some acid aldehyde. So there you go. Were you a beer guy before this?
My Cicerone brain.
Yeah, I love it. So
yeah.
And this is when we were running different mash bills and trying different temperatures at MGP. We were running all these trials as we brought on new customers and running them in different ways. And so it was like, whoa, like, we haven't encountered this for a while. What is it? And so, we would go through all our data. It's like, oh, our fermenter finished out, earlier than expected. And it basically just sat there for an extra bit of time. And so you had AA and DMS build up in that additional time period at the end of fermentation, when you should have cooled it down to basically stop fermentation and keep those compounds from building up. And so we changed our fermenter temperature curves based on that, so that we didn't see additional AA or DMS. Or if you didn't finish out the fermentation, you would see elevated diacetyl, that buttery note that you sometimes get if fermentation isn't complete. So yeah, all these things that they had never really ran into because they would run a few specific mash bills and they had them dialed in. We started seeing all these things. So I was a part of that kind of growth and learning process when I was there. So super cool. And like I said, that's why I'm always grateful, feel really lucky to be a part of that team at that time.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about the 1792 bottle and bond. First of all, 1792 gets its name from the year Kentucky became a state. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Is that part of the brand still a big part of the culture, as far as like, being pretty much named after the state of Kentucky?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Barton and 1792. Both those things are they have historical significance, both for the state of Kentucky and then also Bardstown. Barton, that name has been around since the 40s here, 1940s, which I guess seems relatively modern compared to the year 1792. But yeah, it was the 1792 brand actually got started by Constellation back in 2002. So they are the ones who previously owned this distillery, and they started that brand name. as an homage to the state of Kentucky, as you stated. And it was originally called, well, let's see. Let's ask the chat. Does anybody know what it was originally called? It was 1792. Then what? Let's see if anybody knows this one. The chat's been pretty active, so
I don't know. Someone's gonna Google it though, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Chat
probably. There you go. Angie doesn't know. Oh well. I'll give it 5 more seconds. We'll see who's quick. All right. It was originally known as 1792 Ridgewood Reserve, and that was a big no-no. Woodford Reserve did not like that. So this was in 2002 for obvious reasons. So there was a big lawsuit, cease and desist. It's too close. So they changed it a year later to 1792 Ridgemont Reserve. And it was about that for roughly a decade. And then in 2013, there you go. Sophia got it a little later. Anyways, but in 2013, they dropped it and just made it 1792 and changed the bottle design a little bit. So, but yeah, it's been around a long time. But the name Barton has been around since the 40s, and that was brought about by a man named Oscar Getz, who owned the distillery or bought the distillery then. But a distillery has been around since 1879. So not quite 1792, but it's still been around quite a while.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about bottled and bond. I know a lot of our members know what bottled and bond is, but can you maybe just tell us Bottled and Bond Act of, what was it? Is it 1897? I can't remember the exact year.
Yeah.
Hopefully maybe that's right. I don't know. But tell us, like, why do companies still, like, bottle and bond initially was put into place for regulatory reasons, right? So because there was a lot of counterfeit whiskey, there was a lot of whiskey not made with what it said it was being made with. So this is like a government stamp pretty much that said this is made in one distillery, one distillation season, bottled at at least 100 proof, made up by one distiller. Like, obviously at the time it had a lot more meaning because it was like a regulatory thing, a protective thing for the consumer. Like, why do distilleries still continue to make this? Probably not really. Obviously the regulatory side of things, there's tons of other stuff that, make sure the whiskey's safe nowadays. Is it more of a marketing thing? Is it, like, why do companies continue to make bottled and bond whiskey?
Yeah. One great question. You hit the nail on the head regarding the history of it. It was 1897, and it was before the FDA was around. So I always think that's cool. It was like the first, like, food safety act put into play in the United States. They obviously cared a lot about their whiskey back then, probably maybe more than other things, apparently, which is okay. But yeah, I mean, I've heard everything from tobacco spit to tar to food
prune
coloring.
Juice, right?
Yeah, prune juice. Oh, no thanks. Anyways,
diuretic.
Yeah, to give you a nice color, and it's like that is terrible. So, but the things that make up the Bottle and Bond Act, one, and this, every company probably has some of their own reasons, but overall, the reason is probably still to what you said. It's, exactly what you're getting at the end of the day. I mean, it's very clear. So to be under the Bottle and Bond regulations, one, it has to be at least 4 years old. It has to be every single barrel in there has to be from the same distilling season. So there are 2 distilling seasons in the whiskey world, or in the Bottle and Bond Act. That's January through June. So that's the spring season. And then July through December is the fall season. Third, I see people are very aware of it. It has to be 100 proof, 50% alcohol or 100 proof. So that, I think that was generally higher than some of the proofs that they had back in the day. So it's like, exactly what you're getting proof wise. Let's see. I said at least 4 years old, same distilling season, and 100 proof. I don't think I'm missing something. Hopefully I'm not. I think those are the big three, on top of all the original bourbon laws that exist out there.
And who's the regulatory body over that? That's the TTB?
Go ahead.
Who's the regulatory body over
that
certifying
is,
something?
Yeah, that would be the TTB.
So you have to submit paperwork pretty much showing everything. So you have to submit paperwork pretty much showing everything is in line to qualify for you to put that on the label of your whiskey, right? Like, it's just not something people can just put on their whiskey, right? You have to go through some processes.
Correct.
So I think we have a little bit of a lag.
I see people have said 4 years. Just a hair, yeah. You know, you're
all good.
I'm all the way in Kentucky while everyone else is in California. Yeah. But yes, you're spot on there. So, but yeah, 4 years, 100 proof, same distilling season. Let's see.
Cool.
I can probably ask a question or answer a question. Do you think complying with bottle and bond rules, the season conditions,
sorry,
distilled?
Ross, I'm so sorry.
You're good.
For the comment section, let's save the questions. I'll go ahead and run them through at the end, just so we can get to as many as possible and give the prizes away. I apologize, but I know there are a lot of good questions. If there is something that if it's something that stands out to you that you want to get to later, just make a note of it, and then I'll make sure, just tell me at the end so we can make sure we address that question. But we're going to move on to the tasting portion of the call now. So Ross, you said you had some info on the barrel that I'm tasting tonight, which was barrel 288, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm not sure who else is drinking 288, but Ross is going to give some information on this barrel. And then, as always, in the comment section, just put in what barrel number you have, your tasting notes. I'll go through my tasting notes, but Ross, you want to tell us about barrel 288, and then I'll pour myself a little bit more, and I'll talk about my tasting notes after you give us some more info.
Yeah. So I just want to start off by saying this barrel is an anomaly, and I mean that sincerely, and I'm super excited to hear people's notes on it. So it was barreled on October 28th, 2016, and it was bottled on February 10th, 2025, which puts it at right around basically 8.25 years, 8.3 years old. So a nice sweet spot age-wise. And then location-wise, in our rick houses, it was in warehouse R, as in Ross. And it was that warehouse, the main lengths of the side face north and southeast. So this was on the southeast side of the rick house. So it probably saw a little more heat than the northeast or the northwest side. And it was 13 ricks high. So our warehouses are 21 ricks high. So this was just above the middle of it. And it was 119.1 proof in the barrel. So we got proof down from 119 to 100 proof. And the reason I say this is an anomaly, normally when we do barrel picks and barrels become a part of our single barrel system, we always make sure they're at least 125 proof, because we want people to have the flexibility to either do full proof or bottle and bond or single barrel whenever they pick a barrel. So I actually have to go back and talk to my team as to how this barrel made it through at such a low proof. I think they were looking for barrels like, hey, it's okay if people know they want bottle and bond, we'll offer these barrels. So I've slept since then, but I'm wondering if I was like, yeah, that's cool, like, let's do it. But I think it's super cool. So the flavor profile will be different than a lot of other single barrels potentially that you would get from 1792. So I'm really curious in the tasting.
Yeah, of course. I don't know. I don't see anybody else that's tasting the same barrel as me. So I'll go through my tasting notes on this. I did give runs, on the nose. Go ahead.
Oh, while you're talking, I see the barrel numbers. I will pull information while you chat. So
Okay, cool. Yeah. So again, I'm doing 288. On the nose, I just get a lot of a really nice oak characteristic right off the front. I do get some like dusty oak leather kind of things going on. Um, on the back end, I get this really nice bright note of like dried apricot or like a lighter stone fruit. Um, and then obviously caramel, toffee, a lot of like traditional bourbon characteristics. On the palate, I do get a nice like baking spice note from some of that rye spice in the mash bill. Dark chocolate kind of tails off on the end for me, and then mid palate I get more of that like peach, apricot, kind of bright summer stone fruit, and then the finish for me is quite long. I actually think it drinks hotter than 100 proof, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. But I get a lot of that like dark chocolate, a little bit of vanilla, and then like kind of tannic oak characteristics. But I think it's a super interesting pick. There's a lot of layers. I love 1792 products. So yeah, Ross, I don't know if you have any. I'm trying to see if there's any tasting notes, but if you have any more info on the barrels that our members are put it in the chat, feel free. I don't know if we can get to all of them, but maybe a couple of them.
Yep. I'll start with 198. I saw a few references there, and this just shows how important it is where a rick house is on our site. So we have some that sit on top of a hill. We have some that sit down. I'm going to use a technical Kentucky term here. It's called a holler, also known as a valley, but a holler here. And then we have some that sit up next to a road on top of a hill as well that see a ton of airflow. And so our warehouse, so where barrel 288 was from, that sits kind of almost on top of the hill, but it's kind of in the back corner near a wooded area. And so again, that barrel was 13 high and it was 119 proof. So in the middle of the warehouse, but 119 proof. Barrel 198 is only about a month older than barrel 288. So it was barreled in September of 2016. And that was also 13 high, but it was in warehouse J, which sits up on top of a hill by a road. And that was 127 proof, even though it was at the same elevation inside the rick house. Where it sits geographically is much higher. And so you have an 8 proof point difference at the same elevation inside a warehouse, but just different warehouses in different locations. So I think that is super cool. So when I think about flavors and putting together profiles, I'm thinking about where those warehouses are on site. And here's a prime example. So very cool. And I'll do one more. I've seen a lot of 282. So let me look that guy up here. Oh, well, aren't we lucky? 282 is actually a sister barrel to 288. That's a fun fact. Okay. So same day, same warehouse, same rick actually on the southeast side in the 20th rick deep, 13 high, and that was also 119.0 proof. So just a slight difference. So maybe that one sat further in the rick house while 288 was further out towards the windows. You'll see slight variations in our warehouses there. All right, well, that's a gimme. I'll do 308. That's the last one. I've seen quite a few of those.
Do you have a preferred rick house or warehouse, just out of curiosity?
Ooh, it depends on the product. So for single barrels like these that are in that kind of like 7.5 to 8 year range, I really like the warehouses on top of the hill. I think you get lots of heat, so you get a little faster maturation. There's a ton of airflow up there, and all of that rye spice you get from our mash bill, all of that isoamylactate or banana ester that you get from our yeast strain, those continue to be present, but are not overtaken by the oak. The oak complements them nicely at that age range. But I'm looking at, let's say, 12-year. I'm looking at warehouses 31, 33, 29. Those sit down in the holler. And so even barrels on the top floors of those are equal to about the middle to like the middle third of warehouses on top of the hill. So everything just ages and matures. I'll use the term matures slower in those warehouses. So you don't, if you took something 12 years old from the top of the hill, it would be oak extract at 12 years old. So finding balance in those lower warehouses is nice. So yeah, it depends on the product. Hopefully that's a sufficient answer. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You want to do one more? It's up to you.
Let's do one more. 308. Like I said, I've seen that one pop up quite a bit. So this is super cool. It is a Halloween barrel. So it's from Halloween 2016. And it is in Warehouse P, which also sits on top of the hill. It's 15 high, so just 2 ricks higher. And that is on the even side, so even side of 26. So that would also be south. That's directly south facing. And that was 128.2 proof in the barrel.
Cool.
So, yeah. Thanks for throwing the numbers out there.
Yeah, thanks to our cool members. We appreciate it. Awesome. Well, I got a couple more. Let's do one more question. I always like this question, and I feel like a lot of our members always ask it, so I've just started asking it pretty regularly. If you could share a pour of 1792 with any celebrity, historical figure, anyone dead or alive, who is it, and where? What's the setting?
Oh, I have never thought about that. Well, that's a really good question. All right, I'll give you 2 answers if I'm allowed. I don't know if that's allowed. Course. Okay. If we're going living, I don't know why. I just think he's one of the best actors, and he seems like a cool guy to get a beer with. That'd be Bill Murray. I would love to sit down and drink a whiskey with Bill Murray. And I feel like I would just laugh hysterically for a solid 10 minutes, and then he would give me life advice for the next 10 minutes. And I would maybe be on the verge of tears by just how touching or authentic his words would be. And then I would go back to laughing after that because of something else he would say. So that is who I would choose for living. He just seems like a cool dude. Already passed away. Man. I've been told, so I'm named after my great-grandfather. His name was Ross Skinkle. And my grandparents always talked about how he drank Seagram 7 because that was what he drank back in the day. And so they were blown away when I told them I worked at an old Seagram's distillery. So I think it would be super cool to meet my great-grandfather, who I've never met, and I've never drank Seagram 7 and 7, but I would really like to do that and get to know the old man.
That's awesome. Well, my dad too, so great.
Okay.
Name.
Cool. There you go. Good question.
Awesome. Let's really quickly. As always, you can find our playlist on Spotify. We have quite a few songs. I throw it on when I'm drinking whiskey in my backyard on the weekends. I think it's just a super fun thing to do. Go back and see all the picks over the past few years. But Ross, you chose for your songs. You chose Tom Petty, "I Won't Back Down," and I love this pick, Frank Sinatra by Cake. I do love that band. So can you explain your picks in a couple sentences, and then we'll dive into questions from the audience.
Yeah. First off, I chose both these songs. I don't go to a lot of concerts, but these are 2 concerts I've been to, And so I just have a lot of nostalgia and like good memories with both.
You got to
of
see
them.
Tom Petty live. That's great.
I got to see Tom Petty live the summer before he passed away. And that is, things that like I grew up listening to because of my parents, who are still alive. And I'm so grateful for that, is Tom Petty. And like, I remember driving, taking road trips and listening to Tom Petty and Steely Dan. I don't know why Steely Dan, but that's what we did.
Steely Dan's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't hear a lot of Steely Dan these days, but I still hear Tom Petty. Anyways, but I chose Tom Petty. I won't back down because there are a lot of just bolder flavors inside of the 1792 profile, and none of them really like to back down. There's plenty of rye spice. There's plenty of fruity esters, and especially when you get a full proof or a bottle and bond pick, that oak does not go away very quickly, and it just meets you right there, and it's going to stick with you for a while. So that's why I chose that one. And then Cake, I just saw Cake recently here in Louisville at an outdoor amphitheater, and they were amazing. My wife loves Cake. I don't even know how many times she's seen them. And for anyone who is a Cake fan, or who's not a Cake fan, they do their first set, and then they bring out a tree, and you have to guess the kind of tree that they have on stage. I don't know if anybody's been to a Cake concert, and you basically take a quick pledge if you guess it right. And if you go to their website, they just have pictures of people with their trees all throughout the world. Anyway, so they brought out a tree from Kentucky. I can't remember what it is. Anyways, but Frank Sinatra by Cake. Cake is a bit of a newer band, especially compared to Tom Petty. But Frank Sinatra is, just that song has so many classic undertones. One, the name. Two, I just love the trumpet part, or the trumpet instrumentals of Cake. It's what makes them them. It's their very unique thing. And so when I think of that, that strong Banana Foster's profile of 1792, as soon as you smell it or taste it, hey, that's 1792. As soon as you hear that trumpet to go along with the other instrumentals of Cake, immediately that's Cake. So how's that for an explanation?
I love it. I think music is like a microscope into the soul to a certain extent. So I always like to, I think this exercise is super fun, and I'm always interested to see what people pick.
Good deal.
I picked the Allman Brothers Band, Blue Sky. Just been listening to some Allman Brothers recently, and that song came on while I was working today, and which I usually play music when I'm getting ready for these calls, just to try to find some inspiration for my pick, because I always choose them last minute. And that song came on, and I just was like, yep, this is my song. No other reason than it just kind of felt right in the moment, and I think it's a great song. And obviously I love the Allman Brothers, and great guitar solo in that song. And anyways, we will move on to questions. So thank you very much, Ross, for tasting with us, providing some info, and then sharing your musical insights. So we'll jump into questions from the audience. So I'll go ahead and filter through these. Again, if there was one question that you specifically wanted to answer. Do you remember which one that was?
Yes, I gotta find it. It was just at the moment. Oh, Bessie. Oh, it was from Mist P. It was, do you think complying with bottle and bond rules of season conditions when it's distilled contributed to the excellent spicy sweet flavor profile? Yeah, I really, I've tasted our bourbon at a lot of proofs, and I really think right around that 100 proof point is a sweet spot. So really between like 90 and 100. I think that's why you see almost our entire expression lineup is between 90 and 100 proof, outside of full proof. And I love full proof too. I love it at 125. But that proof range really brings out all of that spicy sweet profile that you get between the mash bill and the yeast strain and all the other congeners that are coming from the barrel and its maturation. So yeah, good question.
Awesome. Matt Vargo asks, I love the flavor of Barton 1792. I noticed that there's a consistent, long, and satisfying finish across all the whiskeys. What causes this character in your bourbons?
Oh man, great question, Matt. And something that I actually did a lot of, I don't know if experimentation would be the right word, but I did a lot of trialing when I was at MGP around this. And it is one of the reasons that I think people like 1792 quite a bit. So the main factor I would play it up to would be what I call mash bill density. So mash bill density in units is the number of gallons of water per bushel of grain that you add to your cookers and also to your fermenters. And to compare, let's say, like a fuel ethanol plant where they're just making, fuel from basically the ethanol that yeast are producing from, a corn mash bill. They are trying to pack as much grain into that fermenter with as little as water to get the most amount of alcohol out at the end of a 3-day fermentation. And that could be, upwards of 20%. But they're not concerned about flavor. They're not concerned about, off notes in that distillate. They solely care about yield. How many gallons of alcohol per bushel of grain are they getting? When it comes to whiskey, that mash density matters a lot for flavor development. So as you increase, and this is actually something, I don't know a lot of brewers, but it might be counterintuitive to brewers. When you increase your mash bill density too much, so you have too many bushels per gallon of water, it will suppress the formation of a lot of your flavor compounds, your congeners, so your fusel oils and your esters during fermentation, and you won't get all of that flavor development at that stage of the process. And at higher proofs, sometimes it can taste kind of thin, and that's not what you get, kind of to your point, Matt, with 1792. It really kind of sticks and lingers on your tongue, and a lot of that is all those flavor compounds that are made during fermentation and then are in higher concentrations at the beginning of maturation and only, basically become in higher concentrations as water evaporates during maturation. And even full proof, at 125 proof, that just sticks on your tongue and, just waves and waves of flavor. So that's kind of one of the scientific reasons around that flavor profile. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it was great. Scott Micklemore says, how do you decide when a barrel is ready for single barrel versus full proof release?
Yeah. So, well, to clarify, when I think of single barrel, I think of like the single barrel select that all of you chose. Those actually have fairly similar profiles, in all honesty. So, but the single barrel program we're pretty specific about. So what myself and her name's Brittany. Brittany is our warehouse planner and scheduler. I call her the Wizard of Oz because she just controls everything. I might think I'm in control, but Brittany is the one in control at the end of the day. But she and I will sit down and we will go through our barrel inventory about a couple times a year, and we will select barrels to be part of the single barrel program. And so we'll pick them on paper. We will send that list out to our barrel warehouse team, and we're picking barrels based on certain warehouse locations and ages. So we're saying, hey, we want it to be a minimum of 125 proof, except for a few of the barrels that you guys chose for your Botto and Bond pick, which I don't know how that happened. And then we know that we know, hey, if we want to hit that proof point, they should be from certain parts of our warehouses and certain warehouses. And then we're looking at it at a particular age and above. A lot of single barrels, you're looking at that like 7.5 to 8 year, like yours was just over 8 years. So we're looking at that time range. So, and then we'll give that list to our barrel warehouse team. They will go sample all of those barrels. And while they're sampling, they'll measure the volume left in those barrels. And if there's less than a certain amount, they'll actually kick it out of the program because they want to make sure that, it might be a delicious barrel, but we don't want Eureka to pick a barrel, it's amazing, and you get 10 bottles. That would not be, it would probably be a delicious 10 bottles, but it wouldn't be really fair to you to get that barrel. So we're looking at, again, location for proof, age and location for, degree of maturation, and then for fill level as well. So that's how we're looking for the single barrel program. For full proof, really similar. I'm always looking generally in the top parts of our warehouses because I want a lot more of that oaky flavor to come through at that higher proof and just be, that full force, full flavor, profile that people love in that product. I don't want to change that. If anything, I just want to make it better. So, and I really like this year's full proof. We threw in some cool barrels into this year's full proof blend. Good question.
I don't know if you can answer this, but Tim Moore wants to know, with a lot of speculation surrounding its release, can you confirm or deny whether New Jefferson's Reserve Cask Strength is in fact 1792 Barton distillate?
I actually, no, I don't know. If I could tell you, I would, but I really don't know, actually. I do not know where they sourced from in the past. I should probably know that off the top of my head. Maybe it was Barton. So, but I honestly don't. Thanks for the homework. Appreciate it.
Matthew Archer says, okay, we're back to mushroom talk. Sorry. Give us your best mushroom or mushroom-focused dish and 1792 pairing.
Ooh.
I think, I would have one, but you go ahead.
So, yeah, I will say this. Mushrooms and whiskey do go well together because the umami flavor or the fattiness from mushrooms goes super well with a nice whiskey. But I love making broths, so be it a bone broth or a vegetable broth. That's like one of my favorite Sunday wintertime traditions. I don't know what winter looks like in California for you, but in Kentucky it does get pretty cold. Anyways, there's nothing like making a nice broth
here, Ross.
Yeah. Partially jealous, partially not. Anyways, like a good mushroom and like a good mushroom broth with like some chicken in there and veggies, with a little crispy bread, like eating and drinking that along with 1792 is, love it. So, but I'm curious to hear what yours is, Trevor.
I would say like a mushroom risotto with sweet wheat.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good.
Mine's a little more richer, I think, than yours. Sounds a little bit lighter, but
yeah, either way, it sounds delicious. When I was in Colorado as a company, we went on a couple mushroom foraging hikes, which was super cool. And at the end, I mean, we had collected, couple pounds of mushrooms, and one of the people is like, as a side gig, was a private chef, and they fried them up right then and there. Oh my gosh, like freshly sauteed / roasted wild mushrooms from Colorado that was pretty tasty.
Love it. Rich Martinez says, what 1792 pour would you serve to someone who says, I don't like bourbon, just to convert them?
Hey, good question. I honestly would probably start with sweet wheat. So it's our lowest proof expression at 91.2 proof. It's our one wheated bourbon. Everything else is rye. So wheat, it's super soft in flavor and profile. It's pretty darn sweet as well, hence the name. So all those esters that you get from our yeast strain going with the soft wheat profile at the low proof. It's a super, there's a lot of complexity there, but it's a great introductory bourbon too. So
make sure you have some mushroom risotto, Rich.
Yeah, there you go. And have that on the side waiting. So
Ken Allard says, does Warehouse Z get a lot of code names? Like this barrel is super Saiyan. I think that's Dragon Ball Z reference.
I don't know Dragon Ball Z very well. I apologize.
I
But
don't know. I
warehouse,
don't know it very well either, but my little brother used to watch it, so I got the
Gotcha.
reference.
Uh, can you explain the reference really quick? I should. I feel like I should know this. but I don't.
I would butcher it. I think Super Saiyan is like the. I'm probably gonna get made fun of for people. So I think Goku is like the name of the main guy, and Super Saiyan is like when all his powers come to their fullest height. So I'm sure I butchered that, but Ken, you can let us know how I did. But
Gotcha.
apparently, Warehouse Z is not being called a Super Saiyan anytime soon.
No, Warehouse Z is really good, and I'm sure people who have Ridgemont Reserve barrels, it says like these barrels came from Warehouse Z, and it's on top of the hill. It's gets full sunlight year round. There's no trees really by. It's both sides. It runs east west, so there's one side that gets a ton of sunlight all the time, and that is where a lot of the original single barrel program barrels came from back in the day when this program started. So that's, if that was your reference to Warehouse Z, yes, it is. It is not legendary, but it is known as the original single barrel bourbon warehouse here at Barton.
So I wish we could get to all these questions. We probably have enough time for. Let's get to two. Let's do two more. Andrew Bemis asks, any fun experiments you have going on right now that you can talk about, or any fun stories or happy accidents you speak about that inspired you to change your process?
Yes, and yes and yes. So first one was, no, I can't talk about experiments. We have a huge. The only thing I can tell you is we have a.
You said you have the cognac. The cognac finish is that's new, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not an experiment, but
It's new. Yeah. Here's there it is with the purple neck label at 95 proof. But in terms of experiments, yeah, we basically, what I can tell you is we have an experimental program, and we do quite a few different things. And I'm always pushed to come up with new things. Chances are you won't see a lot of them ever, but we do make some pretty cool stuff. So regarding happy accidents, oh man, I don't know if I can talk about that one or not. Actually, yes, I can, because it inspired this year's Foolproof a little bit. The first year I was here, we dumped the barrels for Foolproof and 12-year on the same day. And I don't know why it happened, or why it happened that way, but somehow parts of those two got blended together, which was not good because it couldn't be used for 12-year, and 12 years already pretty limited. So I was kind of upset about it. But that Foolproof from a few years ago was fantastic, and so that has changed my mind on how I do Foolproof every year. So I throw in a few older but lower barrels, not too many, but it brings out this like nice stone fruit characteristic that you get in our 12-year to go with all the other like full force flavors that you get from high up in the warehouse. It's still, as a blend, it still comes out over 125 proof, but I've done that a few years in a row now. I can't give exact ages, but I always throw in a few older barrels now into Foolproof to round out that flavor profile. So
that's interesting. That's super cool.
Yeah, and I still have a bottle of the original Mistake, and it says Mistake in big black letters, and then below it in parentheses it says delicious. So
happy accidents.
Yep. So yeah, good question.
We'll get to one last one.
Oh, I cannot hear you. Nope.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm having issues with my microphone, but I just unplugged it. Um,
Gotcha.
Last question. Sophia Mangione says, since wheat ferments and ages differently than high rye ones, how do you adjust the fermentation process or barrel selection to ensure that the sweet wheat develops flavor without losing its softness?
Yeah, great question. So you hit the nail on the head there, like many of these other questions. For your wheated, you know, again, we're still keeping that lower mash density to help a lot of those other esters, come about to go with the soft flavor of the wheat. But we end up putting a lot of those, or trying to put a lot of those barrels up high, because if you put them lower in the rick houses, you would not have as quick of maturation to go along with a more neutral or softer, grain profile, and it would almost be too bland. So we still do, again, it's a pretty high wheat mash bill, same yeast strain as regular 1792, but we throw those barrels at the top, because we want a lot of that maturation flavor to develop. That way, even when we bring it down to 91.2 proof, there's still all of that flavor that's able to be had. Versus if you took barrels and put them lower in the warehouse for that set amount of time, you would have not as much oak flavor, less mash bill flavor, and you would be left with basically just yeast as the main character there. So not our goal at the end of the day. So yeah, really, man, cool technical questions. Things that when I got here, I knew nothing about maturation. That was a gap I had when I was at MGP. Never really dealt with the warehouses. And so that still is my biggest learning curve. And I'm doing all sorts of things right now, experiments, again, that I can't really talk about, but to help make these decisions better. So yeah, really appreciate the questions.
Awesome. All right, let's run through them. Unless you know that your two favorite of the night, I can run through them and give you a recap real quick.
Uh, I think I know my favorite just because I spent way too much time on this when I was at MGP and make sure that we do it here. And that was I think Matt Varga's question on finish and flavor profile. I really enjoyed that one.
Yep.
So that to me is kind of my winner. I'm a technical guy, and I thought that was a good technical question. Um,
Okay, well, we got to choose one more. We had the question about deciding on a single barrel or a full proof release. We had the question about the Jefferson's Reserve cast strength. We had the question about the mushroom pairing. We had the question about Dragon Ball Z question. We had and then I think we had the question about the experiments or fun stories or happy accidents. And then the last question was about the wheat fermentation and develops flavors without losing its softness.
Gotcha. I think I'll go with the last question as well, which is kind of fitting because the second place prize is a bottle of sweet wheat. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
So
well,
who is
you
that?
made my life
Sophia?
super easy. Usually I have to be the bad guy to decide who gets first and who gets second. But first
Gotcha.
place is coming to Matt Vargo for the question about the finish, and the second place one is coming for Sophia, and that was the question about the sweet wheat and the flavor without losing its softness.
Yeah.
So uh, we will go ahead and get Ross. We'll go ahead and get you those addresses to get those signed bottles out. We'll provide all that information to you. But
Okay.
I just wanted to thank you for your time tonight, and we really enjoyed it. One last final reminder for our members. This was the second month that we've done our whiskey club happy hours at our restaurants, which are the third Thursday of every month, which is your pickup day. And those are from 5 to 6 p.m. We're offering complimentary appetizers. You get a raffle ticket for just showing up. We're raffling off a bottle of whiskey every month. And then for every additional bottle you purchase during that happy hour, you get an additional raffle ticket added to that. As always, reminder, you do get, for people that are new, you 10% off dining discount at our restaurants for up to 6 guests. So you and 5 other people, you can come in anytime, and that's on all food and drinks. The only thing it doesn't include is the additional bottle purchases. But we hope to see everyone in our restaurant soon. And again, Ross, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you back again, and hopefully we'll be able to have you on a call in maybe another year or so.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciated it. Lots of fun and technical thoughts and comments and questions. So this was a good way to spend an evening.
All right, have a good one. Cheers.
All right, thanks, folks.